Welcome to Behind the Risk, the podcast where UE and GCC risk management experts share their experience and best practices. In today's episode, we are exploring the captive financial service industry, more specifically in the commercial vehicles industry. Today, we are welcoming Sasha. Sasha, nice to have you with us today. How are you?
Thank you, Fred. Thank you.
Perfect.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, that's very nice. Thanks a lot for coming. Sasha, I'd like actually to introduce you first, actually for our audience, and I'm sure actually that they will be very impressed about your journey across different continents and different countries as well. So, Sasha Alexander, you initiated your career in finance at Raiffeisen Bank Aval in Kyiv, focusing on trade finance before making significant strides at Scania Financial Services from 2004. You played a pivotal role in developing and leading financing service hubs in the CIS region and as a regional director in South Korea and China. You turned around operations specifically in Korea, doubling the business to 300 million USD portfolio and set up the captive financial company in China as well. So you have experience spanning across general management, sales, operation, risk, finance, too many things, especially in emerging markets. And now you are working closely with the Middle Eastern team to craft go-to-market strategies for the GCC and also elevate the brand in Saudi Arabia to the next level. You are known for your great leadership. I will discuss that a bit later as well. You are committed to fostering inclusivity and talent development within your teams. You hold 3 master's degrees, well done, in economics and management, and you recently graduated from a top business school in Shanghai, China as well, with a Global Executive MBA diploma from there. You are fluent in English, Ukrainian, you speak Russian, German, and basic Mandarin and Korean as well. Thanks a lot, Sasha, for actually coming here today. I would like to ask you first, Sasha, quick question. Why is it Sasha? Why is it Alexander? Tell me about this. I never understood exactly what it is.
That's a good question. Many people ask about that. Thank you for asking it. I think this is the given name from my parents. Okay. So being born in Soviet Union in 90, I wouldn't say which year. So that was very common name. And actually, in my case, since I have Ukrainian passport, the transcription of the name is Alexander, starting with O. And I remember I've been first time on some conference, seems to me in Switzerland, and one guy said, you're the first Alexander I met in my life. And I said, it's no problem, but my business address and my email address is like that, so you can use the name convenient. And when we moved to Korea in 2014, I understood that for the Northeast Asia, it's very hard to pronounce letters L and R. Same happened to me, so sometimes I cannot say it. And then it was a compromise, so people have been saying Sasha. So there are 2 sounds, 4 letters, and this is how it developed. And I'm bringing this name with me for all my life. And someone says it in Arabic. Sometimes it's a girl's name. That means also like assistant. But okay, no problem, but I'm here to assist and help your business and help your team to grow. So this is my role. So that is how people know me in this world.
Okay, very interesting. I know what's the history behind the name and how to call you. That's very good. Okay, quick question, because I believe it might not be very clear for everyone actually listening to this episode today. What is captive financial service? Can you explain in a few words?
I think it's a good question because the captive automotive service or captive finance service in automotive business is one of the areas where if you will talk to the traditional or conventional financial institutions like banks or financing company, they will say, oh, these guys are doing a good job. And as my background was in a bank, one day I understood, okay, bank is very formal, bank is very regulated, bank is big machine sometimes not really able to focus on the small deals and small customers and make retail businesses really high level. So automotive companies, the way we do it, develop own financial solutions, helping you as a customer to buy or your passenger car or your transportation means, or even engine or whatever services that are connected to the products. And we've been doing this extremely well for the many years. That is why if you look on our channel, our penetration or market share in the channel sales traditionally very high. I would say that 40-50% is normal ratio. And we are close to the customers. What we see also that is changing because more technology play a role. So before we've been here on spot next to you together with our dealers, understanding their business process and so on. But now customers sometimes decide to go online and buy their products there. So for the captive automotive, I would say this is definitely the companies that belongs to the big conglomerates or big industrial production companies, and they're doing financing themselves for their customers to make the products purchasing process or acquisition process as easy as it could be.
What would be the benefits for the customers to use your financial services against maybe the bank if they cannot finance these products?
It's a good question, and we've been always trying to position ourselves not like being cheapest, because if you are cheapest, then you need to have a lower cost. And we are very, I would say, down to the earth company. We don't have many people. I'm very happy to sit here with a tie, but usually we are not doing this. It's more for the audience to look more solid. I would say we were trying to understand the customer in all aspects, what is important for you. So how you would like to have your process, how you would like to make your financial plan, how your business looks like, what is good for you. And we are here on the ground. So it's not like you are coming to another financial institution, you are sending the financial package and that's it. So we are your closest partner, we are your closest friend sometimes. And what we also say, and especially after the few waves of the financial crisis, is because in my life it was so many, and I believe it's not the last one, we are not taking the umbrella when it starts to rain. And I think this is what really customer appreciate, because banks are super formal. So if you don't pay, I need to send my legal team and collect. But for us, we are working with the asset. We would like to put asset back into the operation, maybe help you to remarket, maybe try to find how to scale down, or maybe, I don't know, reshape your company also to focus on the other segments. And this is how we are building through partnership. So our relationship is less transactional, I would say. We really look at every customer as a partner.
It's more looking at the long term rather than the
Correct.
short term, like actually all the financial services companies could do.
I cannot say that all financial services do in short term, but for us, there is no other way rather than to cultivate one customer, then he will grow more, then he will introduce us to another customer, and then you increase the base, because our industry is very much limited. Right, so there is a limited population of the companies, there is limited population of the people, and it's a limited market. So we cannot create the new markets for ourselves. So we need really to treat our customers well. And I think our teams are doing a good job worldwide.
So how does it work specifically between the captive financial service department or company and the rest of the operations of the company? Because they need to sell the product, and then you come in whenever there is a need for financing or funding actually for this. How is the relationship between these two parts of the organization, maybe as Scania, for example?
I think it's a good question. And we've been always saying that finance job should be done by the finance people. But the way we see the future and the way it is right now, so we understand, okay, before customers being more in the need to have someone to advise you, to support you in the basic things, and even documents collection and so on and so on. But now with the technology in place, a lot of things can be done, online. And I was a true believer that financial services should be part of the channel. So when you train your front people who are introducing the product, and financial services is part of categories of the products that your front people present. So you can produce the product, you can produce the service, and you can produce all the rest, what we call vehicle-related services, not from our portfolio. And one person can do this job, but you need to train them well. You need to establish the proper incentive skill. Sometimes it's also about the segregation of the duties, because if I'm selling, I'm so much eager to sell, right? And then I'm taking financial risk, someone needs to control it. But I'm a true believer that the role of the captive financial services is really maybe not in the front, but next to the people who are doing the sales job, and sometimes also segregating the duties that we are not creating the risk for the company by the huge financial exposures that we cannot manage.
Okay, makes clear. So I just actually presented you earlier that your role here at Scania for this division is basically to go through the crafting these go-to-market strategy, do a lot of PR and strategy and partnership work within the region. Can you go into more details of your day-to-day activities and responsibilities here?
It's a good question because frankly speaking, when we moved from China to UAE, it was a little bit unclear what should be done, how this mission should be completed. So we have an organization here in Scania Middle East, in Jabal Ali, and we've been looking how to set up the companies here, understanding that the equity barriers are quite high. It's very much concentrated business if you're looking for Saudi, where we have few banks playing the huge role in financing process. And if you look on the other markets, some markets are relatively small, so you cannot reach the equity threshold and really pay it off. And I think this was the first part to really understand, okay, what can be done, what is possible, what is not possible, what is the regulatory framework, how this regulatory framework works evolving, and where the opportunity is. Because definitely UAE is a hub, it's a financial hub, and we have DIFC, we have ADGM, so it's a lot of opportunities to make a footprint. Then I would say that everyone understood how Saudi was developing and developing very fast. And I was assigned look into the Saudi and build a strategic business case together with our partners. And when you started to talk with the people on the ground, you understand they have so many needs and you're just listening. And if I would say how I can describe my role is being a decent brother and a good listener to our partners, understanding what is the need, trying to consolidate it together and really put it as a good case for the management sitting in our headquarters and understand what can be done here. So being the closest partner and being the closest partner for the ecosystem, that is how we met with your company, because we understood, okay, there is a pain, we need to solve it, right?
Okay, now that's actually make it a bit clearer. But I like also to leverage your international experience, because Scania is a global brand, but based out of Sweden, actually. But yourself, you actually experienced so many different things in Europe, in Asia, different countries, the Middle East as well. I mean, the Middle East being part of Asia as well, but it's different kind of cultures. What would you say are the main differences in emerging markets for credit risk and financial leasing or captive industry like this compared to more mature economies from the culture of Scania, maybe for a very long time?
I think it's a good question. It's very hard to say from the company culture what is the difference, but why I joined Scania back almost 20 years ago, leaving the bank where I was in a trade finance position that time. I understood that Sweden is a small country, relatively small, and Sweden has a global exposure. There are so many Swedish products all over the world. And if you look on the culture, Swedish people are very humble. It's very short power distance between the management. It's very transparent. And that's what really, make a difference after the bank, when you understand that people need to be more formal. You cannot talk to the boss. You need to call him with, 5 levels of politeness and so on and so on. But in our culture, it's more, let's say, I can say less formal is a good word. And when it comes to the emerging markets, it was an appetite for the emerging markets. And I think the big portion of this appetite coming from the trust. And I can recall my first, I never call my managers bosses, because I think boss has a negative connotation. It's more my mentor, my leader, my supervisor. I asked him, how you assess the risk? We've been in one of the post-Soviet countries where, there is nothing in financial statements. You cannot see much tangibility when you meet the people in the office. You only understand how people think and what they do. And I think it's a true passion to understand the business, and that is where you learn. And you ask me what is the difference with emerging markets. Emerging markets are very dynamic. And today could be A, tomorrow it could be B. So it's not like you are planning what is the GDP growth next year. Okay, it will be 2%, and you will increase your sales forecast maybe with 0.5, understanding that you need to gain some market share. So everything can happen. And here many people see the threat saying, oh, maybe things will collapse and it's not going to develop well. But we've been always saying, but there is behind threat, there is an opportunity. And actually there is a Chinese character for the crisis that means the same. It's an opportunity and a threat at the same time. And I think we've been always looking for the opportunities. And Middle East is also an opportunity. But these days, world is getting more complicated. We've been talking a little bit, should we say it or not, but political part is also playing a big role. And sometimes when you're talking about the risks, you need to also look into the political risk. Before it was a little bit outside, now it's on agenda. And I think this is something that we've been trying to stay out of politics all the time, but now political risk, they are there and you need to assess it. And we divested from some countries. That was a big shock for us, I would say. And who knows how the world will turn around. And you ask, when it comes to the risk management, what is the key, in my opinion, it was always people. And you need to have a team who understand the local market, who understand the local framework, who have the local culture, because sometimes, culture could be a very big bottleneck in building your business relationship. We have many stories like that we just don't understand the culture and we don't understand why it is working this way. I'm not an expert in the Middle East because I've been very short, but I understood when it comes to the Islamic financing, the payment discipline, you need to tolerate a little bit, right? And you cannot really push. You need to be more humble. You need to be more gentle. And you need to really show that you're interested in your partner. Not just for the formality, but being interested in elevating the business of your partners to the new levels. And
does it mean that your approach to risk management, whenever you were in South Korea, China, or here in the Middle East, has evolved, changed somehow because you had to adapt to these new conditions somehow?
I think if you're talking about, let's say, business risks, they remain the same, right? So for the business risk, it's important that company remain profitable and not exposed to any events where you can make a failure. When it comes to the credit risk, I would say my belief was always about the risk and reward. The higher risk you take, the higher reward you can make. So I've been always making examples when you have informal lending. So I'm coming from those countries where people been lending money, not signing any documents, but they know how to collect. And sometimes it's not the good methods to collect. But I would say like this, that if you have a high risk appetite, then you need to secure that your reward level is covering that. And you, of course, can make the model, but you need to feel comfortable in what you are doing. So answering your question, is there is a difference? Yes, for sure. Because if we take Korea, here we're talking about South Korea, it's super developed market. You definitely know how many players in the market. You definitely know what are the revenues. It's almost like perfect information. So there is no opportunity to manipulate and make extra profits. So the economic rents are equal for everyone. But in the Middle East, we still have a lot of, development areas. That is where we started, that not sharing the information and not presenting information transparent, you can make economic benefit, right? And sooner or later, because I believe in this, everything will be transparent. Now in the world of technology, 99% of information you can find in the open sources. Yeah, then the approach is not different. Just make sure you're comfortable and make sure that your reward is covering your risks.
Okay. So for the short period of time that you have been here in this region, what would you say are the unique characteristics of this market for your specific industry compared to what you experienced before?
It's very hard to say in general, because if you're talking about logistic, okay, it's a big hub. It's Asian hub. If you look in the Jebel Ali, it's one of the big seaports, and logistic infrastructure is very much developed. Now we see that the new logistic routes are evolving because we have political turbulence, or let's say geopolitical turbulence around us in the region. But I think the characteristics is that I really met people who are professional. They have a clear mind what they would like to achieve, and you can build really good relationship and partnership where you really orchestrate the business. I think this is the major difference for me, because comparing with the other countries, the power distance is huge. The transparency is not there. Relations are more transactional. So here it's really a friendship and partnership. Of course, we are making money together, right? So then you need to make money in a good way, that your company is not suffering, my company is not suffering, we are growing. I think here it's a common ambition. Let's do more and let's gain more and let's satisfy our customers more.
Could you expand a bit more on this partnership and business-oriented aspect? Because in a previous episode, Andrew actually shared with us that within this region compared to other regions, the human interaction was actually even more important than anything else, like the data you can collect from these different partners to assess their risk in terms of credit risk, for example. What would be your view and feedback on this aspect? Do you think that the human interaction within this region is also very critical for Scania and your department?
I think human interaction is a key everywhere, because our business is very much about the people. It's very managerial, very much hands-on, and you cannot do it from the distance. So your customers is on the spot and you need to be together with them. When it comes to the relationship, actually, I hope our audience understand it correct. When we are talking relationship, I always see it in a positive connotation, because in Chinese we have expression called guanxi, which also means relationship, and sometimes people don't understand this. And when I came here, I asked my friends, I have a lot of Chinese friends who've been doing business here in UAE and in the GCC region, and they asked, can you explain me like the difference? They said, if you look on the business partner, in China these days, 30% is relationship, 70% is a business interest. So here it's vice versa. So business interest sometimes is less than your partnership and your relationship. And frankly speaking, this is how I see it as well. So sometimes people see that I would better stay in a good harmony with you rather than I will go for the extra mile and for extra buck. That is my impression. And we have also one proverb in Russian language saying that it's easier to find $1 with a friend than with an enemy. So it's not a direct translation, but the meaning is almost like that you need to have a good partner to make business together. That is why you see that there are so many agencies who belong to the families. And every time when you're meeting these big conglomerates, big families, they first would like to understand who you are. So my first meetings with sheikhs and their houses was like drinking coffee, eating together, talking. And then maybe a second or third meeting, you will start to talk business, because they need to understand what is your intention, how we can run the business together with you. You're not sitting next to my house. You may be in your office. Maybe you're somewhere in Sweden. Then how can I trust you?
When I'm hearing what you say, it looks like it's basically positive, because you build a relationship and trust between these two stakeholders. But at the end, you are risk management experts. Does it affect negatively also your processes, noting that maybe this other person will say, oh, you don't need all of this information or all of this data from me, just trust me, you'll know that it's going to be okay in the future?
No, I would like to mention one more time that when I say relationship, for me, it means positive connotation, because it's also the difference between classical financial institutions and captive financial services. We don't have other customer base. So if our customer defaults, then we need to help them to recover from the situation. It's not our business for sure, but at least we have a competence, we have a skill, we have a business knowledge, how this business can be turned around. For instance, we can help you to defleet, or we can help you to remarket, or we can help you to reschedule, and so on and so on. And in this situation, I think information will help you really to make a very well-weighted decision. It doesn't mean you need to do crazy things, because at the end of the day, it will harm you, yourself or your company or your partners, because debt is a debt. It's not going to disappear. We are not printing money. We're also borrowing this money from somewhere, or we need to generate revenues and reinvest, and so on and so on. So you need to build a solid foundation for your business to grow. And I can give a very good example. So in 2009, when Lehman Brothers collapsed, maybe 50% of portfolio we've been managing in Ukraine just, stopped paying. And it took 3 or 4 years to recover, where every second week I have a meeting offline to Sweden every month and explaining, trust this customer will pay. Even they're not paying, they're doing all their best to make it pay. And, patience sometimes is not there. But because of that, we never ever scale down our business in Ukraine, even because of the war. So the team is still there, the team is growing, the portfolio is growing, and the payment performance is also there. So I think,
because you were there during the difficult times and supporting.
Not me, but it's about the mindset and the team. So we've been always saying that we need to do business in a way that we need to be proud of it. And when it comes to the business risk, okay, you have your business, I have my business. If we don't see the common way together, we need to separate. It's also part of the business process, but we can separate in a way that we don't become enemies. And I'm not harming your P&L, you're not harming my P&L. Let's find a good way out of it, right? Because I help to grow your business, I help you to develop your business. And if you are saying, okay, I'm not ready to pay to you for this, then I need to use the tools, because this is not how the business works, right?
So the way you presented it is more like a consulting partnership, basically. So whenever they have a business, you have the experience and you can help them actually approach things differently if they need some support in these instances. But you need also to receive some information, some aspects of what they do to better actually or to be in a position to really help them eventually. How do you assess the access to information specifically within this region, UAE or GCC market, compared to
it's a good question. First of all, I will promote the company that is our partner for the business risk and assessment is Cedar Rose. And I think first you need to have a good partner who can help you, because most of the information, as we said, you can find in open sources, but you will spend a lot of energy to do this. And not always customer, especially if it's a family conglomerate, are ready to disclose it and so on and so on. So you need to look in those ones who are surrounding your customers, who are impacting your customers, their suppliers, their customers, maybe government institutions. But what is the beauty here? You can come to one partner and you will have a snapshot. Again, it doesn't mean you will do 100% of the job. So you need to formalize your credit assessment, but at least you will have an information source and you can make a judgment and you make your call. Do you want to do the business there or not? And again, stepping back from credit framework, you need to say, am I ready for the partnership? Am I ready to engage? So if I'm not ready, better to say no, right? So it's maybe here people not say no directly. We say, okay, maybe we need to wait. Inshallah, we can do it next time. But it's your call. But you need to have a good source of information to make a qualified judgment on the risk you see in any kind of business transaction you have. That is how I see it.
Okay. So that's really a mix between actually whatever you mentioned, open source, partners, as well as this human interaction, actually to collect whatever is not accessible otherwise.
I think one of the missing part for me is that it's very hard to get from the open source. So I was always a believer of camel model. And every market I've been coming, I've been asking, okay, tell me out of this CAMEL, what is the most important in the business? So in China, they said it's M, management. And I think for the Middle East, it's also very much important to understand who is managing this company and how. And when you are getting like dry financial reports, you can understand what are the assets, what are the capital, what are the liquidity from financial statements, what your earnings and so on. But management qualification is there. You can understand, okay, this person was in the industry 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, but how this team works, how they overcome the challenges, so how they capture the business opportunities. That sometimes is hard to get out of, from external sources. That is why you need to be there. That is why we in the captive finance, we believe that when we come to the customer, we have an opportunity to talk to the general manager, to the finance manager, to transportation manager, to logistic manager, and you can make your expert judgment, is this team performing well? Because if there is no aligned targets, if there is no processes, if there is no integrity, then it will in some moment create the trouble for their business first, and then impact the suppliers, also the vendors or creditors. And this is something that you need to verify and get something.
So the way you present it is like you conduct a comprehensive due diligence with your partner before you do any kind of partnership, like you...
Always. I mean, it's like in a friendship. So you can, if you would like to do transactional business, we can meet for coffee and make some money together, split it, and everyone is happy.
Like before you get married, you want to understand who is the father, the mother, the brothers, sisters, and the likes.
Something like this. Yeah, you need to know the family.
Okay, so that's actually a good comparison. We have been actually speaking a lot related to technology ourselves, and I mean, I would like to also provide some recommendation to anyone. We do these discussion with walking meetings, which is always good to have fresh air at the same time that we can discuss and have our brain open.
Yeah.
But technology is something very important to you, as I know, and especially you have worked in South Korea and China, who are actually very driven by technology as well. What would you say are today's gap in terms of technology within this region and related to your industry, captive financial industry plus risk management? But you believe within the next 3-5 years would actually be covered?
For me, it's hard to say where is the gap because it's very much business specific. Every business might see it differently, but I will say from my personal experience, where I would say that where is the opportunity is. If you're talking about UAE, so we have more than 60 banks. these banks doing a lot on technology side, trying to make channels more digital native, simplify your onboarding, and so on and so on and so on. But for me, I think the golden opportunity lies in building and using the data you have in the business. So that is something that you mentioned. Korea has very strict data protection law, especially for the personal data. And sometimes our customers been saying that, okay, you cannot use my telematics information because it's super confidential and so on and so on. But after that, explaining them how this information can help you in your business, like improving your driving skills or your, your working schedules and shifts. And so same with the credit. So if you will be able to use the data that your customer and your business and your region generate in a smart way, you can build more transparent community where the risk will significantly decrease, and then you can expand the business much more. That, I think, where the opportunity lies. On the company level, for me, it's all about the people. And people, unfortunately, what I see here is that the job security number one, right? Same in Korea, same in China. I think every country is job security number one. And sometimes we feel, Fred mentioned that we have this walk-in meeting and with a fresh mind in the morning, and I'm always like, so there is such an opportunity, but why we cannot do like this? I think you need to have leaders who can create the safety environment for the teams really to try the new things that they never tried and show the positive impact on themselves and their business. So that, I think, people complain about a lot of handwork, but when you understand why it is happening this way, you cannot change this, but you can show that having certain fundamentals, having certain knowledge, adding the technology, you can build more profitable companies that will grow in the prosperity for you as employee, for your family, for the community, for the industry, and so on and so on. You don't need to be afraid. That, I think, is a fear. This is the fears that you need to manage in yourself and try.
So do you believe that employees are right to fear the prospect of artificial intelligence, for example? Or they shouldn't fear, but they should adapt their skills and their behavior for the time being?
It's a good question. I don't want to touch on generative AI because it's a super complicated topic and impact on business. When I heard it on the radio here, like, one day the songs will be written by a machine. Yes, it's already happening. So what? But it cannot replace the human. And in my case, when I have experienced 2 lockdowns in China, that I think it was a great experience in the end. And that time I just dedicated myself on learning machine learning and back to the coding. That was my initial background when I started in professional career. So then you learn and you understand how simple it is these days. And you can try yourself, you can push yourself out of the comfort zone and, make some predictions, work with some data sets. And then you understand maybe it's not a fear, it's an opportunity. So you can make a lot of things happen in different way. And you see it now when people send in your email, you understand, okay, maybe ChatGPT help a little bit with all these nice words that, okay, getting these emails and, these people, maybe he or she put too much effort to write it in a polite way and he afraid of being realistic and human. And the same for business. So you really need to understand where you need to have it. And unfortunately, it also has limitations because the quality of your prediction depends on the quality of your data. So the quality of your credit scoring depends on your data set size. You cannot make a good model if it's, 2,000 samples, something like this. So you need to understand how to use the technology in the right way, because sometimes it can be the downside for you as well. So then your model is not going to be stable. But I recommend everyone to try. So my first message was when I came to the office, I said, guys, try it. Try it yourself.
So how do you prepare your team actually for these changes for the time being, if we want actually to
I think you need to lead by example. Okay. That is the only way to do. So you need to show how the technology helping you in your daily life. So, now when you have a meeting, for instance, you can use the note taker. So the note taker will understand who participated in the meeting by the voice, even not knowing is this person saying this or not? So they will just evaluate my voice, saying, okay, this is how your voice looks like for the technology. Then note taker will split all the words said in the meeting by the roles, by the name, saying, was it said with a positive connotation? Who was silent? Who was good listener? Was it really constructive? Can you summarize it? So, meaning such simple things. Start with that. And I show it to my friend in China. They have a lot of restrictions on using Western products, if we can say like this. I said, now every meeting within my team, I run with a note taker just to show to the people, was this meeting constructive? And he says that after practicing this for a month, the quality of the meetings improved because first of all, people start to listen. They understood that after that will be the summary, who was taking much speed in saying something, taking someone else's space, cannot formulate the message. Then you read it and you see it, and the quality comes out. And if you see it as a positive tool, it's a super great tool. So they're sitting in the same room, they're switching off their laptops, and they're talking to each other, but they ask the technology to record. And after that, they said, oh, look, like today looks like it's a good meeting because the technology can summarize what we've been discussing. So it's a great step forward.
Do you have also this option actually to calculate what has been the cost of the meeting? That's very useful in my opinion, because sometimes I have myself actually some meetings that spans for 1 hour or even more sometime, realizing at the end, like you mentioned, we have the minutes of the meeting that nothing was really shared or actually very detailed, and then realize that we have wasted actually the time of 1, 2, 3, 5 person actually for nothing, and when the same meeting could have been actually finalized in 10 minutes sometimes.
But I cannot say that it was wasted meeting, because at the end of the day, in the different cultures, in some cultures you need to communicate more to build the trust. So, but the technology can help you to understand, are you there or not? So if you cannot make a summary out of what everyone said, maybe it's not a wasted meeting. It means that the team doesn't listen and trust each other in a way that some constructive things will come out of it. And that is why, or you want to afraid and try it, or you will say, no, I don't need this. And we have a good discussion with a good friend. He is a chairman of one of the banks. He said, I never know it exists. If I will tell that it exists for my board meetings, they will probably say, no, let's not use it because we are discussing so many things that doesn't create any value for everyone else. So, it's up to you what you want to achieve. But I believe it's a good tool.
Okay, interesting. So let's imagine that we have in the audience some young people actually who are interested in joining this captive industry. What would be the necessary skills, in your opinion, not for today or yesterday, but for tomorrow, for them actually to shine?
It's a good question, because I think for the younger generation, if I can say like this, because I still believe I am a young generation, it's a huge challenge to understand what kind of skill set will be needed for the future, right? And having a family, having kids, I have the same thing in my mind.
Like, for example, the boss of NVIDIA, if I'm not mistaken, just mentioned that nobody should learn coding because coding will be done by artificial intelligence in the future. So 5 years ago, it was actually recommended that everyone should be coding as a language. So.
I think I will share my personal opinion. Doesn't mean everyone will agree with me when it comes to the younger generation, because for me, it was always a passion to understand my younger colleagues, how they think. And in China, we've been running also talent program when we've been taking the talents from the top universities and coaching them, developing them. And I hope one day the persons that I'm talking about now will listen to this podcast and say, am I saying true or not? But I think you first need to, as a recruiter, as an employer, you need to inspire and give the space for the younger generation to work and to create. They're super efficient, they're super fast, they're quick learners, they're in the front of technology. They would like to know everything about everything very quickly. And we say, no, I have 20 years experience. Hold on, don't do this. We've been doing this like this. And for the last 20 years, this process never changed. So I think first you need to really to show there is a space or there is a certain secure base where this person can perform. And when it comes to the younger generations that would like to join, I think they need to be a little bit more passionate to understand that for us, sometimes it's very hard to change our habits and our routines to the new things. And I remember I took one of my favorite courses called Marketing for Generation Z.
Okay.
In China about TikTok, and I became a true fan of this solution. Even it will be banned in US. I don't know how it will happen, but it's so powerful tool. But I learned a lot about how Gen Z think. So what is important, and improve quality of my relationship with my kids, my relationship in the office, because I understood that, when you understand what kind of challenges younger generation face that we didn't have before. Like you've been saying, okay, you can learn the code and you can have a profession. Now you don't need this, right? So you need to understand how the future will look like. They want to be with one employer like I am for 20 years because they would like to have more flexible jobs. They would like to have more respect. They would like to have clear career paths, faster growth, and so on and so on. So it's a huge pressure on them. And if you really can put yourself in a position saying, okay, I understand this person will challenge me a lot in front of the others, and I like this challenge. So, and maybe one day they will say, okay, I don't need you anymore because I learned everything. Thank you, bye-bye. And there is no more emotional bond. So then that's the key. So from younger generation, I think it's about understanding that unfortunately, not everything will happen in one day like someone wants. Okay, I started my career today. Next morning, I'm a CEO of the company. You can make a startup and become a CEO of your own company.
Could be, no? Especially
could be, for
online,
sure.
Web3 and the likes.
But there is no problem. But if you're working with the traditional large corporates, it will take time. And you need to be passionate about what you're doing, and you need to be more impatient for the things to happen. So that, I think, two advices. When it comes to the technical skill set, it will evolve a lot. Technology will replace a lot of routine jobs. But if you know how it works, maybe it will help you. Coding, I believe that we've just been talking yesterday with a friend. It's okay to do the coding by the technology, but to make the viable product at the end, you need to have someone with a brain, which is not a long language model, to understand what kind of product should be for the customer. So you still need to have a human there. And I believe it cannot be 100% replaced. But you can orchestrate. You can really play the role of putting things together, humans and machines and humans. I'm not sure who will do the most of the job. I hope that machines, but looks like not yet.
I don't know. We'll see that in the near future, I'm sure, actually. So perfect. Thanks a lot, Sasha, for your time today. I'd like to finish with a few quick fire questions as well.
Please.
And just to tell me what's your preference between the two options. First, Kyiv or Dubai?
Oh, it's a hard one. I think both. It's very nice cities.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea, but I'm drinking a lot of coffee.
You need to choose.
No, tea for sure. Tea is more healthy.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Cooking at home or dining out?
These days at home.
Looks like the quickfire questions are more difficult than the other ones. Podcast or music?
Music.
Emerging markets or mature economies?
Emerging markets.
Relationship building or data analytics?
It's two different categories, but I would answer in a tricky way. Build your relationship with data as well, but it can be also fun.
Good one. Customer service or operational efficiency?
I enjoy more customers.
Digital transformation or legacy processes?
Depends on which industry. So not every legacy process can be changed, but definitely technology is a must.
Why wouldn't legacy process not be able actually to change?
I don't know if you will try to say it to many people who are doing, let's say, haircut, that traditional legacy process will be changed. So what kind of reaction you will have? And are you ready to be haircut by the robot as well? So I don't know. So there are some industries that are more sensitive and people are just not ready. They never tried. But when you will try, you will see.
Okay.
But I enjoy that the human is making my haircut.
So back to the relationship building in that case. And the last one, talent development or team performance?
I think it's about talents. I really enjoy of growing people and making them successful. And with many of them being in the industry for more than 20 years, we still keep very close personal touch and following their professional line. And when they make a success, it's a great for me as well.
Perfect. Sasha, thanks a lot for sharing your insight and experience with us today. For our listeners, thanks a lot. I hope that you really enjoy today's episode with Sasha from Scania. Please, if you like this episode, share it, comment anything. And if you have any questions, please share them with us. It will be a pleasure for ourselves as well as Sasha, I'm sure, actually, to address anything. Until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.